Zacks Screen of the Week, an overview of a timely stock screening strategy aimed at helping you produce more profitable investing results.
Time to check out the new top 5 sectors as screened by the screen master himself, Kevin Matras, head of our Research Wizard division here at Zacks. Now, you do this from time to time. You've done this with me before. You do it like every few months, I guess, by my count anyway.
Right.
And the ones that you've got in this report do look like they are new leaders, but why do you do this that frequently?
You know, I like to look at the new sectors from time to time. I think it's important to stay on top of it because, you know, we've said it before, but roughly half of a stock's price movement can be directly attributed to the group that it's in. So by definition, a strong sector or a strong industry will have more of its companies moving up, whereas a weak sector or a weak industry will have more of its companies moving down. If more of its companies are moving down, that cannot be considered a strong industry. What's interesting, though, is that I have done a lot of studies, and I have found that by just simply getting into sometimes an average stock or a mediocre stock in one of the best groups will oftentimes outperform even one of the best stocks in a troubled group. And it should be noted that that doesn't mean you can just indiscriminately buy anything, but I believe it does underscore the power of being able to be in the right stocks that are in the right groups, because that is going to put the wind at your back, if you will.
Okay, may the wind always be at your back.
Nice.
So how do you define best sectors?
Well, as I was saying earlier, you know, I like to look at the movement of the stocks within the sector. And my favorite way is to be able to look at the percentage of stocks trading within 10% of the 52-week high. Now, I make that distinction because there's a lot of people who like to look at the percentage price change over the last 12 weeks or the last 24 weeks. And that is fine, but in my opinion, I don't think that that is sensitive enough. Perfect example that I like to cite all the time is the energy sector back in 2008. That group was on fire in 2007 and the beginning of 2008, but even when that group started to collapse, it was still being ranked one of the top sectors. And the reason why I think that is because the price movement in the first 12 or 24 weeks at the beginning part of that time period were so large that even a big pullback over several weeks of a time period was completely lost within the move that had preceded it. So it's my belief that if you can start looking at the distance between the 52-week highs and where you are right now, right, as a position, even a simple 10% pullback is going to immediately be reflected in this type of ranking. And if more and more companies are pulling back from their 52-week high by in excess of 10%, now you know that maybe something systemic is happening within that group, as opposed to seeing something that is more stock specific. And like I said before too, you know, since 50% of a stock's price move can be attributed to the group that it's in, I think it is acutely important to be able to identify the best sectors, the best industries as accurately and as timely as possible, and that's why we're doing this right now.
All right, well, don't keep us in suspense any longer. What are the new top 5 sectors?
Check this out. Currently, the top 5 sectors based on the percentage of stocks trading within 10% of the 52-week highs are as follows. You've got retail wholesale in the top position. 32.2% of the companies are trading within 10% of their 52-week high. Then you've got utilities, 30%, consumer staples, 29.5%, basic materials, 29.3%. Then you've got finance, 28.6%. Lastly, you'll see conglomerates with an asterisk. The reason why I put that 6th industry in there, or the 6th sector in there, is because you still have people that are probably reluctant to get into the finance sector. So if you're going to be eschewing the finance sector, conglomerates is the next sector that is in that position. What I do want to point out, though, is that the retail wholesale sector is still in the top position. Last time we did this was back in April, and that was also in the top position. But Back in April, I think only 14% of the stocks were trading within 10% of the 52-week high. This time, you've seen that number more than double, with 32% of the stocks trading within 10% of the 52-week high. Also, too, though, I should mention that the ones that are brand new to this list, you've got utilities, brand new, and that also is in the second position. Basic materials, that group has been on fire, and then you've got the conglomerates. And I think it's important to single out those new additions, because I think seeing those new groups pop on that radar screen, I think those are things that you really, really want to take a look at, because they're moving up. So in theory, you can say that those are the ones that are still trending higher, so you really want to pay attention to those.
All right. And how many stocks came through this week?
I think there was maybe about 60 or 70. I put some additional filters on top of it, but let me give you some examples of some of the stocks that came through each one of these groups. For the retail wholesale, I've got Cheesecake Factory. For utilities, you have P&M Resources. For consumer staples, Diamond Foods. Then for basic materials, Brush Engineered Materials. For finance, you've got KBW, and then for conglomerates, you have 3M Company. And I think all of those companies have either a Zacks rank of a 1 or a 2. So these companies are very strong fundamentally, but these companies are also on the move and worth paying attention to.
Do you own any of those?
I specifically picked stocks that I did not have.
All right. Can we see more stocks that came through in the text version of this piece?
You won't see more stocks that came through in the text version, but if you simply run this type of screen within the Research Wizard, you can get all of them every day for the rest of your life.
If you want to read more about this screen this week, or just read about it, period, if you're not already at Zacks.com, go there and click on the headline right next to Kevin's picture. That's the latest Screen of the Week headline, and you can read about what we just talked about here. If you want to know more about the Research Wizard, go to Zacks.com/Research Wizard. It's just that simple. With Kevin Matras and the Screen of the Week, I'm Terry Ruffalo.